In 2013, a 21-year-old student named Elisa Lam went on a solo trip around the West Coast and decided to check into the Cecil Hotel in LA. Little did she know that the Cecil Hotel would eventually become her last known location. There's even an unsettling security camera footage of the last time Lam was seen, which I will show you towards the end of the video. Hi, my name is Alex. Welcome to Death Scribbles, and today we're going to go over the mysterious happenings at Cecil Hotel. Ever since it opened in 1927, the Cecil Hotel, located in downtown LA, has been associated with crime, death, and bizarre incidents.
The Cecil was a very deceiving hotel. There's a lot of beauty to it, but it was the complete opposite of beauty.
It was built in 1924, and as any hotel, the Cecil was planned as a destination for tourists and businessmen.
Awe-inspiring and breathtaking is the Cecil Hotel. Rising above the rooftops of Hollywood, it is one of the most beautifully constructed hotels of its type to be found anywhere.
Unfortunately, even in its early days, the hotel developed a reputation as the site of numerous suicides. The first one taking place in the evening of January 22nd, 1927, when Percy Ormond Cook, aged 52, shot himself inside his hotel room due to his failing marriage. A few years later, a string of suicides and suspicious deaths followed, including the death of a young woman named Grace E. Magro, who fell from a 9th floor window. The cause of her death was never specified, so to this day we don't know whether it was suicide, an accident, or if foul play was involved. One of the more heartbreaking incidents was the death of a newborn. In 1944, Dorothy Jean Porcel gave birth to a baby on the bathroom floor of the room she was staying in, and thinking it was a stillborn, she threw it out of the window. Porcel was charged with murder but was ultimately found not guilty by reason of its sanity. In 1947, the hotel was linked to one of the most notorious murders in US history. You've probably heard of the infamous Black Dahlia case, more specifically the gruesome murder of Elizabeth Short, who had moved to LA in pursuit of an acting career. It was rumored that she was spotted in the hotel bar shortly before her murder took place. Her body was found in Limerick Park, mutilated and bisected at the waist, and to this day, her murder remains unsolved. This case is truly bizarre on its own, so do let me know in the comments if you'd like me to go more in depth and make a separate video on it. Unfortunately, it doesn't end here. In 1964, a hotel worker called Pigeon Goldie Osgood was found dead in her room. She was a long-term resident at the hotel and she had a very likable personality. Goldie had become a friendly face to many who stayed at the hotel, and her kindness was even extended to the pigeons at the nearby park. She had regularly spent time there feeding her feathered friends, and that's how she acquired the nickname Pigeon Goldie. On the 4th of June, her body was discovered in her hotel room. She had been in a horrendous state and it was evident that an assault had taken place. The room around her was in disarray as her killer had been searching for valuables, giving the authorities a clear motive for the murder. Only minutes before her death, she had been speaking to her friends, meaning the murderer had already been in Goldie's room waiting for a moment to strike. Soon after, speculations arose that her murder was linked to 2 other similar killings in nearby areas. But despite this, the case grew cold and Pigeon Goldie's killer was never brought to justice. Known as the Night Stalker, serial killer Richard Ramirez wreaked havoc upon LA throughout the 80s, ending the lives of at least 14 people. During his killing spree, the Night Stalker called the top floor of the hotel home and would even return and walk right by the reception desk in his bloodied clothes, not batting an eye. He would then proceed to toss them into the bin before returning to his room. But Richard Ramirez wasn't the only serial killer to take residence in the Cecil Hotel. In 1991, Jack Unterweger had established himself as a journalist who ironically covers crime stories for an Austrian newspaper. He arrived in LA and booked a room at the Cecil. During his stay, he murdered 3 women and was right under the police's nose. The man literally went on calls with them, writing stories on the crimes that occurred.
The Cecil was a place where serial killers, let their hair down.
What is it about this hotel? Did it have a sign on the front reading, "Come one, come all, serial killers are welcomed here"? But probably the most infamous tragedy in the Cecil was the death of Elisa Lam. In 2013, she was reported missing after she failed to contact her parents to let them know about her well-being. She had agreed to do so every day of her trip, so it became strange when her calls had suddenly stopped. Her parents grew increasingly concerned and got in touch with the local authorities. Elisa was supposed to be checking out of the Cecil on January 31st, and it became clear to the police that she never left the hotel before her disappearance. Even though they searched the premises, Elisa was nowhere to be seen, and as they began an investigation, it soon became apparent that Lam was acting strangely before she vanished. A security tape was found showing her enter an elevator and press all of the buttons on the middle row, but it wouldn't close or move. On the tape, she looks as if she is on the lookout, as if she is being followed, hiding in the elevator and making strange hand gestures before walking out of shot. The last thing we see is the lift doors close. Body language experts have analyzed Elisa's behavior during this video as possibly indicating excitement and playfulness, consistent with someone on a party drug. They claim that she looks as if she's playing a game of hide and seek, and although at times she displays signs of anxiety, there is no indication of fear. They also claim that if the events in the video occurred just before her disappearance, then the person she's interacting with that seems to be off-screen most likely has the knowledge of, contributed to, or is even responsible for her death. A few weeks after the contents of the security tape had surfaced, in late February, guests of the Cecil Hotel began complaining about the bad-tasting water and the low water pressure. This prompted a check of the water supply cistern on the hotel's roof.
Police confirmed the identity of a female's body found in the water tank of an LA hotel. 21-year-old Elisa Lam disappeared several weeks ago. The Canadian tourist had been staying at the Cecil Hotel.
They removed the water tank lid, and inside they found Elisa's nude body, moderately decomposed and bloated. Floating beside her were her clothes and personal belongings that she had with her the night she disappeared. The exact circumstances of her death are still unknown, but the autopsy report, even though it was done far too late, concluded that she had died by accidental drowning. So what really happened to Elisa Lam? The most plausible scenario was that Lam, in the midst of a psychotic episode, believed she was being chased by someone and attempted to hide in the water tank where she drowned. Now tell me, how can a small woman remove the water tank lid, get inside, and proceed to close the lid above her. The tanks were large and heavy, and it took multiple people to remove them when her body was discovered. Also, why was she naked?
You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to say, what the fuck?
Police confirmed that she had medication prescribed to treat bipolar disorder, which she wasn't taking, and of course her death was written off on her mental illness. People have suggested that her case was dismissed far too easily because she was mentally ill, and have criticized the LAPD for taking too long to investigate and then abandoning the case too easily. Elisa Lam's parents proceeded with filing a wrongful death lawsuit against the owners of the Cecil Hotel, seeking unspecified damages and compensation for their daughter's burial costs. Following her death in 2014, the site rebranded itself as the Boutique Hostel Stay on Main, but it's done little to temper the fascination around it. The space has remained known as the most haunted hotel in LA thanks to its bizarre history of suicides, murders, and serial killer clientele. Speaking of psychopaths, if you want to hear the story of one of Canada's most notorious criminals, a convicted murderer, cult leader, and self-proclaimed prophet, click here, and I'll see you in the next one.